Junior Pro Kart then will be out in a few moments. They start with Reese Knight on pole position with local driver Harrison Johns on the front row. With him, Christian Oblag and Thomas Wilkins start on row number 2 with Sebastian Pereira and championship leader Maximus Shields starting in 6th place. It looks like we've got a bit of a theme going on with the championship leaders all starting the race day from down towards the back of their grid for their random allocation. So as they make their way round from the opening race of the day, we have had penalties applied to Curtis Latimer with a 5-second vis front fairing, and unfortunately we've had James Waring excluded for being underweight in that opening race of the day. So what that will do in terms of their points for the end of the day means that they won't pick up the points for the opening heat, which means that's going to compromise their positions for the final at the end of the day, because it's all done on the amount of points you pick up from your heats. The more points you get, the further forward you start in the final. As we move then on to our Micro Max, Marley Fisher, another driver unfortunately excluded for being underweight, and Harris Roberts drops from 4th place down into 5th, having picked up a front fairing penalty as well. And looks like in Mini Rotax, the results already appear to be published for that one, so it doesn't look like we've had any issues, but we'll keep an eye out on that because it does look like that one's come out very, very early. So unless everybody's come through and they are clear and they've just managed to press the OK button. As you can see, our driver's rolling into position for our standing start then here in our Junior Pro Kart. After this one, we'll have Conda Cadet. They also go for a standing start, but they'll go much, much deeper because there's 28 of them. So green is up in the air at the start of this one. For the standing start, it's down, we're away and racing. Reese Knight off pole position is slowing. There's contact there between Harrison Johns and Thomas Wilkins as Max Shields has to take evasive action and goes over the grass. Christian Oblag from the 2nd row drops in behind Reese Knight, who leads them through with Sebastian Pereira into 3rd place, and it's an early move then from Christian Oblag on Reese Knight down the inside to take the lead, and Max Shields is going to put a similar move in on Sebastian Pereira down into the Mac Werther's right-hander. Shields needs to make an early move now then on Reese Knight because Christian Oblag, the driver in front of him, currently 2nd place in the championship. 27 points is the difference between Shields and Oblag in the Junior Pro Kart class, a class that Shields won last season, so he's defending that championship as they make their way down towards Raymond's for the first time, and Shields does indeed make the move down the inside of Reese Knight, who slots back into 3rd place. Behind them, you see Thomas Wilkins and Harrison Johns coming through after their first lap excursion over the start line. Wilkins is in 5th place, Johns is in 6th place. And now the top 2 in the championship, albeit in the opposite order, are your top 2 on track. And Shields is down the inside of Oblag into Mac Werther's, and he will have track position then for the right-hander at Chandler's. They're still side by side as they make their way through, but Shields is through and into the lead at the far end of the circuit. Oblag then tries to come back to the inside, but Shields has that one scouted and parks the kart right the way to the inside to stop Christian Oblag getting the run down that back straight. There's still 4 of them still nose to tail though, with Reese Knight and Sebastian Pereira coming through as Pereira there in the background pops out of the slipstream and will move up into 3rd place at the expense of Knight. He drops down, and you can see there just from that one overtake how it moves 4 or 5 kart lengths the gap back just by making that overtake, because you're coming to the inside, which means that you've got to be slower round the hairpin because it's a tighter corner. You then can't get on the power as soon to get out of that corner because you're going slower, and that loses. That's why the gap has opened up by about 5 kart lengths from your 2 leaders to Sebastian Pereira. Reese Knight, though, appears to have disappeared. He's on the grass on the outside at Mac Werther's as Wilkins comes through into 4th place. Harrison Johns will also inherit 5th. So Reese Knight, who was behind Sebastian Pereira at the time, has had an off and an excursion onto the grass down at Mac Werther's and will come through in 6th place, having held a fairly comfortable 4th at the time. Shields then leading the way from Christian Oblag. 0.4 of a second is the gap, so whilst he managed to make his way through, hasn't been able to escape the clutches, and Oblag is noticeably quicker this time out of the hook complex and closes right up into that double left at Surtees. Will he be close enough at Mac Werther's? He's not, because Shields has got a better run out of that corner. So this race swinging like a pendulum, and we're still only 3 minutes in. Down the back straight they go then, with Shields opening up a gap on Christian Oblag as they make their way onto the hanger straight. You see there the gap opening up, but then as they head towards this hook complex of corners, Oblag is very, very quick on exit of this corner. So he closes up a few kart lengths and just seems to get slightly better drive out, and has been closing up. Not so much so this lap, but on the previous one, he took 3 or 4 kart lengths out of Max Shields. Personal best for Reese Knight in 6th place as he tries to close back in on Harrison Johns. Was 1.1 quicker on that previous lap. The gap is 2.1. So within a few laps, should be right on the back of the number 10 for what will be 5th place, having dropped away from 4th. Will he have enough time, though, if he can get past Johns to close in on Thomas Wilkins, who he too is slightly quicker than in terms of their on-track speed at the moment. The leading trio, though, are fairly evenly spread out. Pereira is closing in ever so slightly on Christian Oblang, or at least did on the previous lap, and does so once again, but it is by a fraction, half a tenth of a second. So nothing that's going to reel him in too quickly. This leading trio comfortably spaced. Then they've got a gap of 4 seconds or so back to Wilkins, who has another 5 back to Harrison Johns, who then has Reese Knight trying to close him in behind. Half race distance we're heading towards, though. Reese Knight has closed in once again on Harrison Johns as the timing does update itself, albeit a lot later into the lap than what it normally does. Normally, as soon as they come over start finish, the timing loop will update and relay that back to us here in the comm box, but it was showing still at towards as the leaders were down the back straight. It's still showing the same sort of gap as it was previously. So, but Reese Knight is closing in on Harrison Johns. We'll see if we can pick that one up in a lap and a half's time, because I think Reese Knight will be right on the back of Harrison Johns by then. He's closing in, although Johns does put in a personal best, as does Oblag and Sebastian Pereira on that previous lap. Shields, though, then continues to lead the way by a fairly comfortable amount of time here at Llandow. The gap is 7/10 of a second back to Christian Oblang and Sebastian Pereira, with Pereira having another gap of 1.13 seconds back to Thomas Wilkins. The gap there is now another 5, then it's another 5 back to Harrison Johns, and another second back to Reese Knight, who is continually lap on lap trying to close back in on the number 10 of Harrison Johns. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining as we head towards the wait to catch the leaders as they'll make their way onto the back straight in a few moments' time. In the Dell complex they come then, and Oblag is a little bit closer to Max Shields than what he has been. He started to move away from Pereira and onto the back of Shields. The gap on the previous lap was half a second. We'll see what it comes through this time and what 3 kart lengths is. It's still showing us exactly the same as they come over in terms of timing. Maybe that will update again later on in the lap as it has been there. We finally get confirmation of Christian Oblag closing the gap by a tenth and sets the fastest lap of the race, 49.207. Shields then leading down the back straight with Oblang closing in. Apologies if we've had some issues with pickup on the screen. We've had 1 or 2 internet issues, but we are back, and we're back just in enough time to see Christian Oblag right on the back of Max Shields. He's reeled in the 181, who had a gap of half a second, and is now right on the back of our race and championship leader as they come through, and they've still got 2 minutes and 45 seconds to sort this one out. What I do know is Shields is not going to make it easy for Oblag, and Oblag's going to have to make something happen here, and it's almost certainly going to be down that back straight because he's getting a really good run out of the Dell onto the hanger straight, and he's just going to have to pop out of the slipstream very, very early, because I get the feeling that Shields is going to start having to defend down into that corner. Reese Knight has found a way past Harrison Johns. We saw the 10 come through with the 54 just in front. The gap though is quite large then to Tom Wilkins in front, so I don't think I think Knight's progress is going to stop at 5th place. Shields has managed to open up a bit more of a gap this time on Christian Oblang. Has maybe picked it up a notch, knowing that Oblang was getting very, very close to the back. And this time Max Shields opens up. And yeah, a couple of kart lengths as they head through the complex of corners. They opened up 0.3 of a second on that previous lap, but Oblag closing in then down at McWerthers. Shields then will get on the power earlier. He managed to get away as they head towards Chandler's for the 11th time. 1 minute and 15 seconds remaining, so they're certainly going to get themselves around the before timing on this one and on the next lap as well. So we're going to have at least 3 seconds. Just having a quick look, we've had Sonny Morgan, a penalty applied for a drop down nose in the previous heat in Mini Max. That's dropped him down into 6th place, promotes Oliver Fabricius up into 5th in that class. Shields and Oblag, gap is half a second between the two of them. He's opened it up again as Max Shields and sets a personal best on that previous lap. You see there with the time going blue in the top corner. If you ever see it go purple, that means the driver set the fastest lap of the race. And blue is a driver's personal best. Down the Spitfire straight as they head towards the Dell, and Oblag closing in as well as he set the fastest lap of the race on that previous lap. The gap then down once again to under half a second, and Oblag is much closer, 28 seconds, or more importantly, 2 laps of action here at Llandow, with Oblag once again closing right in onto the back of Max Shields. Shields will need to get a good drive out of the hook as they head on to the bomber straight down towards the double apex left at Surtees. Normally gets a good run out of there, and that gives him enough opening up and respite to stop Oblag trying to get down the inside. Quick brief look over the shoulder from Shields then as they head down towards Chandler's for what will be the penultimate time. Into the Dell, and I'm not sure Oblag's going to be close enough down that back straight this time to make a move into the final corner here at Llandow. Closes up, but not enough to put the move on to Max Shields. Last lap board will greet them then as they come over the start finish to commence lap number 12, lap number 13, and Oblang dives down the inside into the hook, and he's through on Max Shields, and then will immediately come to the inside to park that kart down there at Surtees. Shields thought looked like he had it covered into the hook. Now Oblang is in the prime position as they head down towards Chandler's for the final time, and Shields has half a look down the inside on Christian Oblang. Is that the final opportunity for Shields? But Oblang then comes defensive, will compromise his own entrance into the corner to try and compromise Shields' exit onto the back straight, comes right the way to the inside. Shields then will dive right onto the inside, then sweeps back onto the outside. Will he get a better drive out of the corner? Oblang parks it there side by side over the line. Arm up from Oblag as they come over. And the timing hasn't updated, so I don't know who it's gone to. Oh, Christian Oblang, finally, as it comes over, takes the victory then from Maximus Shields, though it does show that it was a dead heat in terms of timing. They came over with no time between them, but it's credited to Christian Oblag at the line, with Shields in second place. Pereira, Wilkins, Knight and Johns come through to complete your running order here then in Junior Pro Kart.